Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Picture this, you're finally retired and instead of feeling a relief or freedom, all of a sudden you're looking back thinking, if only I had fill in the blank. If only I had started earlier. If only I had planned for those medical bills. If only I'd thought beyond Social Security. You're not alone. Survey after survey show that the vast majority of retirees carry at least one financial regret into retirement. But you don't have to if you plan ahead. Today, we're going to unpack the 5 most common financial regrets of retirees backed by data, as well as practical ways you can avoid them. Regret number 1, not starting early enough. A 2025 Yahoo Finance report found that 2/3 of retirees say they wish they had saved more consistently, and over half wish they had started at a younger age. Another study from the Retirement Manifesto shows that 76% of retirees cite not saving enough as their number 1 regret. The reason is simple. Time is your most important factor when it comes to building wealth. It's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. Here's the reality. If you invest just $200 a month, starting at the age of 25, by the age of 65, you would have more than $500,000, assuming a 7% average return. But what if you waited until the age of 40? You'd have to save nearly triple that amount every single month to reach the same total. And that's a much heavier lift at a time when you're likely juggling a mortgage, children, and other life expenses. Life doesn't tend to get cheaper as you move into your middle years. And it isn't just about hitting a number. Starting earlier often gives you more flexibility, more control, more options later in life. It could truly be the difference between retiring when you want to and when you have to. So the big takeaway here is that even small amounts invested in your 20s or your 30s, or if you've put off investing starting today, can make a big difference in your retirement future. The best time to start investing was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Regret number 2, underestimating healthcare costs. One of the most common and most expensive surprises in retirement is the true cost of healthcare. Fidelity estimates that a single 65-year-old retiring today would need about $173,000 just for out-of-pocket medical expenses over the course of retirement. For a couple retiring together, that figure jumps to nearly $315,000. Remember, those numbers don't even include long-term care. The strain is real. Nearly 2/3 of America's seniors say the rising cost of living expenses, especially medical bills, cause them to eat into their savings more than expected. This isn't just emergencies either. It's the steady drip of premiums, deductibles, co-pays, prescriptions, and standard medical procedures. Here's a reality check on longevity. If you're 60 today, you have about a 1 in 3 chance of living to 90. And for couples, there's a 50% chance that one partner will reach the age of 90. That's not just a nice long life, that's decades of potential healthcare costs that need to be budgeted for. And while Medicare is essential, it's far from a blanket solution. It doesn't cover dental, vision, hearing, long-term care, and this is why so many retirees have supplemental insurance policies, additional savings, take advantage of HSA accounts. You're going to need to fund your health insurance for more than just Medicare. The big lesson here is to build healthcare into your retirement plan early on. Max out your HSA if you have one, consider the cost of supplemental insurance, consider setting something aside for long-term care. Ultimately, the earlier you plan, that gives you more flexibility to protect yourself in the future. So this isn't something you want to wait on. Regret number 3, failing to diversify income streams. One of the biggest traps in retirement is putting all of your eggs in one basket. Maybe that's simply relying on Social Security, or a pension, or a single investment account. Many retirees regret getting to their senior years and then over-relying on Social Security without a backup plan. Ultimately, Social Security is a great income floor. It's a great form of longevity insurance, but it was never intended to be the sole funding source for your retirement. And here's the thing, life has a way of throwing curveballs. An unexpected roof replacement, a market downturn, or medical costs that increase after inflation can quickly erode your financial comfort if you don't have other sources to draw from. And there's another risk you might not have considered, a lack of tax diversification. If you only have, say, a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k, every withdrawal you make in retirement is subject to taxes. And depending on your tax bracket, this could result in a surprisingly high tax bill in your golden years. And over time, this could mean that your income ends up being dictated by the IRS thanks to required minimum distributions, or RMDs, and you could be forced to have a larger income than you actually want or need based on these rules. Here's the sobering reality. Many Americans today are working well into their 70s and their 80s, not simply because of connection or because of a passion. Many are continuing to work because they have to. And if you only ever have one income source, whether that's Social Security or just a pension or just your investments, you might find yourself in a situation where you feel backed into a corner and you feel like you don't have options. That's why one of the best things you can do is build multiple income streams. So the lesson is to build financial resilience before you need it. That could mean creating a mix of dividend-paying investments, rental income, part-time consulting, or freelance work, and just as importantly, spreading your retirement savings across pre-tax, Roth, as well as traditional taxable brokerage accounts. The more streams of income you have and the more places you can draw from, the more flexibility you have once you reach retirement. Regret number 4, retiring at the wrong time. When it comes to retirement, timing is everything, and getting it wrong can lead to a deep personal and emotional regret. Nearly half of retirees say they wish they had retired sooner, even those with 6-figure portfolios. They often look back at the additional years they spent at work thinking those were the best years where I was the healthiest, the most mobile. I could have been traveling, pursuing a new hobby, or simply spending more time with family. And once those years are gone, you can't get them back. Many people end up delaying retirement far longer than they would like, not because they're in a job that they love, instead because they feel like they need that paycheck, because they're worried about what the future healthcare costs might be. They're worried they might run out of money in retirement. They're worried about just rising inflationary pressures. These uncertainties are very real, but for many, it means trading more of your life for a paycheck. If you love your job, it's one thing to continue working. But if your job doesn't bring you fulfillment or joy, continuing for years on end isn't necessarily the best choice. There is no right age to retire for everyone, but there is a right age for you. And knowing that comes down to 2 things: knowing what is enough and having a plan to sustain it. This means taking the time to calculate what it truly costs to live the life you want. Factor in healthcare, inflation, and longevity, and don't just assume the averages apply to you. So the lesson here is to run the math and stress test your portfolio, and maybe you enter a phased or a partial retirement. This could be the best of both worlds, allowing you to capture a little bit more of your time and also continue to capture a paycheck. Retirement isn't just about quitting work. It's about making sure that your money and your time are working together to give you the life you want. Regret number 5, not balancing spending and enjoyment. Money in retirement isn't just about paying the bills. Yes, that's important, but that's not everything. You want to make sure that you're using your money in a way that brings you joy so you can live the life you want. And many retirees look back and have regrets on how they spent their money. Many look back and realize they were too frugal. They restricted their spending when instead they could have enjoyed that trip. They could have pursued a new hobby. They could have spent more time with their family. They've spent a lifetime saying no to things and saved just a little bit too much, more than they ended up being comfortable with. And they wish they would have said yes to a few more experiences along the way. On the other hand, some retirees lean the complete opposite way. They end up overspending in their first few years of retirement due to the excitement with this new freedom, but then they find as time goes on, their portfolio is smaller than they would have liked, and they have to make more cuts than they truly want to later in life. The value really comes down to having a flexible spending plan, one that allows for both enjoyment and sustainability. Retirement spending isn't static. For many retirees, those earliest years, your go-go years, are where you naturally spend more because you're the healthiest and you're the most active. Make sure to give yourself permission to spend here, but you want to plan for it and you want to make sure it's within your budget. Naturally, over time, spending does tend to decline. So don't over-restrict your spending, but don't go wild either. The lesson here is to create a written retirement plan that intentionally budgets for passions, travel, and hobbies alongside your essentials. The goal is to use your money as a tool for a fulfilling life, not a source of guilt or shame or anxiety. Ultimately, you want to give yourself permission to enjoy the life you want with the money you have, because the person with the best retirement doesn't have the biggest balance sheet. It's the one who has the most fulfilled life. When you zoom out, these 5 regrets, starting too late, underestimating healthcare, relying on just one income stream, mistiming retirement, and not balancing spending with enjoyment, all share one common thread: a lack of proactive planning. The good news is you can change that. Start now, even if it's small. Plan for the big, predictable expenses like healthcare. Build multiple tax-smart income sources. Retire with intention, not just because you hit a certain age, and balance security with joy. The goal isn't to simply avoid regret. It's to have a retirement that is deeply fulfilling. And ultimately, I think knowing these regrets is helpful. Keeping them on your radar to know the common pitfalls of retirees can help you to sidestep them and better plan ahead. What are your thoughts? Have you made it to retirement, and have any of these regrets been on your radar? Share your thoughts in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. One of the biggest traps in retirement is putting all of your eggs in one basket. Like, there is no right age to retire for everyone. Everyone. So the lesson here is to run the math, to stress test your portfolio. And there's another risk you might not have considered: a lack of tax diversification, not diversion. Look over here. Sorry, that's not what I meant. To stress test your portfolio and having a plan to sustain it. I thought I hit stop.